Eh, akan dalam. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And my greetings to everyone who joined us today. A very good evening to our Honorable Lecturer Puan Rasma binti Mahmud, a Senior Lecturer of Sustainability Management. Our speakers, Mrs. Asha Daniel, and Executive Secretary of Zeva, and to fellow members and all the participants. I, Ms. Rana Sari Idayu binti Wan, as your moderator for today's webinar program. I welcome you to the Operation Management webinar titled Electrifying the Future, the Evolution. All praises to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for His permission. We can be together following this webinar. While waiting for this webinar to start, participants are asked to fill out the attendance form using the link that has been provided in the comment section down below. Once again, I would like to thank you all who are willingly to take time to participate in our YouTube webinar live this evening. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before starting the ceremony, let us stand and sing the national anthem, Negaraku, and UITM song together.
Bersatu kita warga UITM, kita bangsa perkasa, taat dan setiaku untuk negara, penuh semangat wajar. Kita jangan mudah lupa pengorbanan perjuangan anak bangsa. Kita jangan
Next, to bless our gathering on this glorious day, I would like to invite our fellow Muhammad Hanan to lead the dua recitation so that our webinar this evening runs smoothly. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajmain. Ya Karim, Ya Wadud, sesungguhnya kami berhimpun pada hari ini bagi menyatakan kesyukuran di atas kurniaan-Mu yang tidak ternilai. Jadikanlah kami hamba-hamba-Mu yang sentiasa bersyukur sama ada nikmat yang sedikit, lebih-lebih lagi nikmat yang melimpah ruah kepada kami. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Engkau berkati dan rahmatilah perjalanan majlis pada hari ini. Sesungguhnya Engkau maha mengetahui bahawa kami di sini ingin menimba ilmu-Mu yang sangat luas bagi mengembangkan ilmu pengetahuan kami sebagai hamba-Mu yang Engkau redai. Jesteru berkati dan rahmatilah perhimpunan kami ini. Kurniakanlah kepada kami ilmu-Mu, sinarilah hati-hati kami dengan cahaya dan hidayah-Mu. Semoga dengannya kami mudah menerima dan menghayati serta mengamalkannya. Ya Zal Jalali wal Ikram, kurniakanlah jua kepada kami kesihatan anggota, kecergasan minda, ketenangan jiwa, kekuatan semangat. Semoga dengannya kami mampu menepani cabaran, berdaya saing dan mampu mengangkat martabat diri, keluarga, masyarakat dan negara. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wassallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wasallam walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Amin.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Muhammad Hanan, for reciting the dua just now. Before I start this program, I would like to introduce Mrs. Aisha Daniel's background. Well, Mrs. Aisha Daniel graduated from Purdue School of Engineering and Technology at IUPUI, Indianapolis, majoring in Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering and minoring in Mathematics. She also has a Master of Business Administration from United. In 2000, she worked at Tenaga Nasional Berhad (TNB) in coal logistics and commodity procurement, handling the high-level policy of coal trading, negotiating with coal sourcing country lawmakers to ensure coal supply reliability to the country. Now she has left the coal industry and joined the Program Management Office of Electric Vehicle (EV) in TNB called Zeva. Without wasting our time, I would like to call Mrs. Aisha Daniel to begin her sharing of the program this evening. With all due respect, please welcome.
Okay. Hello, hi. Assalamualaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much, Miss Ratna, for the kind introductions. I'm not used to StreamYard, so I can't see who are the participants. How many participants we have today? Or is it just like live streaming? Okay, all right. So I could actually see, all right. And also, may I see, can the participant shows their face? Or is it like, oh, all right, okay, all right, thank you so much. Never mind. Okay, as introduced, my name is Aisha. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I believe that the participant today is mostly management and business. Are you guys doing MBA or DBA? That one I can't see. So I have prepared presentation slides for you. Let me see whether I can actually boot it up. All right. So it looks like this is really going to be one way, huh? Okay. So can you guys see my slides? All right. I take it as yes, yeah. Let me see the comments, see whether I could actually get the some comments in here. Connect your YouTube account. Ratna, can I see whether everyone has seen my slide?
Wait for a second. I will ask the technical.
Yes. I'm not used to stream yet. Forgive me.
Yes, they
Okay, someone
are
has seen. Yes.
seeing your
All right.
slides.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So I got the faculty name correct, I guess. Faculty Pengurusan dan Perniagaan. What I didn't get whether you guys are undergrad or grad student, but that's okay. And I'm assuming that everybody is in both management or business. Let me muse. All right. So a little bit of introductions about the associations, the NGO that I am representing. The name is Zero Emission Vehicle Associations, and we were actually established to promote the use of battery electric vehicles, which is EV. So there are many types of EV in the market right now. I'll explain that later. And our aim is actually to create a more sustainable world. Okay, we believe that EV is one of the agenda that can help reduce the carbon emissions. So we were founded 2 years ago by my EV Owners Club, TMB, Volvo, BMW, uh, the associations of importers, the great importers into Malaysia, Burmese, B Auto, which is actually the dealer of Mazda, Kia, and Fujo, Toyota, and Chashengo. Why were we established at that time? Because we think that the automotive industry was not moving into green that fast, so we wanted to make a difference. As today, we have about 45 registered members, and you could see that the members were covering the main segment of the EV ecosystem. So we have the power utility, Tenaga Nasional as well as Sarawak Energy, because EV must be powered via electric. We have the EV OEM, or also the importers. Go Auto is one of small companies that will be introducing EV that is locally manufactured next year. Eon, you guys know Eon is actually a distributor of Proton, and as well Renault, Toyota is also our founder, and Mitsubishi Motors. We also have two-wheelers importers, and for you students, I have special announcements regarding two-wheelers later. The charging point operators, because I'm sure everyone here is Malaysian. Are you guys all Malaysian? Do we have some overseas students? Right.
We
Will
don't.
someone please just
All Malaysian.
yeah, you don't okay. But you guys would like me to speak in English all the time, kan? Nampak Ratna tadi cakap full English. So I try to use English. The charging point operators, because EV needs electricity, and the key to that is actually the EV chargers. The top five of the EV charging point operators, four of them are with us: Gentari, Petronas, Charge EV, and and also we have another associations that is with us, Persatuan Industri Pengecas EV. A lot more CPO join that associations, and they will ride on Zeva as well. Bus, there are also EV bus, and Malaysia is Gemilang Coachwork based in Johor is manufacturing EV bus. I believe they import to US market. Cam from the Sindok Group based in Klang. So Cam brings in van EV. We also have Marine Ecosystem, Iloqua, and also fleet company, Hapsang Trucks in Berhad. And the the biggest segments we have is actually the EV charging station contractor, solutions, and equipment provider. So that's about us. Our work centered around these four pillars. The first one is actually to influence government policy to push for vehicle availability. So I'm not sure in your MBA whether you have policy regulatory framework subjects. So if you do, you will actually learn about regulatory policy, um, uh, how how regulatory policies are being formed, what is actually their how the assessment is being done, and we also want to increase public awareness in forums such like this. And I, I find I enjoy thoroughly talking to think tanks and as well as students of the universities. um, Third pillar is actually to ease deployment of the charging infrastructure for our members, because deploying chargers is actually very difficult. um, and we are also regional and national industry thought leader. We are in fact, our vice president today is in Bangkok delivering our keynote speech to a conference there, right? So a little bit of background about EV industry in Malaysia and what the governments are doing. First, it started with this policy called the low carbon mobility blueprint. So in there are not only passenger vehicles that needs to be electrified. They will also plan about how the public transportation will have to move towards net zero if the whole country wants to move into net zero. So one of the interesting thing in low carbon mobility blueprint is by 2030 they target that 15% of total vehicle to be sold in the country must be EV. So if you look at the total annual sales of automotive industry last year, it's about 720,000. So 15% would actually be around, someone do the math. um Let me do. So 15% from 720 will actually be around 100,000 cars sold in the country must be EV. So that was 2 years ago. And after that, the industry has become a kind of stalemate until another policy was established. That is Dasar Tenaga Negara, the National Energy Policy, published last year. It has a little bit longer and a little bit bigger aspirations. 38% from the annual vehicle sales must be EV. And recently, in August this year, we see that the Prime Minister announced National Energy Transition Roadmap, which brings the number into a bigger number. So instead of 15% of EV by 2030, it is becoming 20%. So um, that's about 150,000 of EV must be sold by 2030. What's interesting is 80% of EV in the country by 2050. So we welcome that. What Zeva was hoping to see was actually 100% of EV to be sold in the country by 2045 or 2040. But this is good enough. And if you follow the political scenario, you could see that from 2022 and 2023, we have a change of government, and you could see that even the new government, the current government, followed through whatever the previous government has set up. Even they make it stronger. So this shows that EV is really an agenda is a country agenda. It's not a political party's agenda, and it will be benefiting. People believe that it will be benefiting the economy, the rakyat. So that's why this policy, this target is further strengthened. All right. Wah, someone was looking for Ipan. Saya cari Ipan. Ipan mana? Right, I'm just making a community social announcement. Um, so you could see that in the newspapers or in the government will actually be has been announcing a very strong EV incentives. So the light yellow, if you could see the color well right now, the light yellow kind of aqua was actually what was announced for 2022 budget, and darker aqua was actually announced in this year's budget, and darker green towards red was actually the third one. It was announced for next year budget. So you could see here some of the incentives are being extended. Let's say the import and excise duty exemptions for CBU models, meaning that the models that is brought in, the whole car is being brought in as it is. Uh, so there is some there's some duty, there's some excise duty and also import duty for those cars, but for EV it is exempted, and that ceased this year and extended for another 2 years. And for the CKD plan, CKD means that the the vehicles is assembled here in Malaysia. So that was also extended until 2027. Also, there are zero sales tax. So what this means is government, while considering while allowing the industry to be bringing in cars from overseas, the government is also pushing for the cars to be manufactured here so that it will create jobs for the industry. Road tax exemptions for EV. So I purchased my EV this year. I paid zero for my road tax, and income tax exemptions for home charger or subscription. So if I want to install my home charger in my house, I could get income tax exemptions up to 2,500 ringgit. Or if I subscribe to charging facility, so if you could imagine this from fuel point of view. So if you want to fuel up your car, it will be Petronas, Petron, Shell, as well as Caltex. So there is the same goes with EV. The chargers, there are Gentari chargers, TMB Electron, Charge EV. So if you subscribe to any of the CPO, and meaning that you pay a certain amount and you could actually use their chargers for free because you have paid the subscriptions, that could also be exempted from income tax. And a new incentive were being introduced. That is the business tax allowance for the charging equipment manufacturers. As of now, Malaysia has not manufactured our own chargers, our own EV chargers, be it the fast charger or the rapid charger. So the government wants to build this industry, and therefore they introduced these two incentives. 3 years tax rebate for EV leasing. If you don't want to own EV now and you want to lease it for 3 years, there are tax rebate about 300,000. And if you have EV rental, there will be 2 years tax deductions. And this is going to be interesting for you students. Government this year announced that for next year, e-motorbike, you will get 2,400 ringgit per year for cash rebate. So that's interesting. So you could see that government's incentive covered quite a whole ecosystem. So we covered the foreign cars to be imported into Malaysia, locally assemble EV, road tax for the users, income tax for the home charger, and also for the charging manufacturings, and it also covers the two-wheelers. And as a result of that, the growth of the industry has actually been very positive. So I pull up this number just now for you guys. The total EVs on the road as of November is 12,700, close to 13,000. So all that, if you look at the graph, you could see that 2022, there were only 3,000 or so EV sold. But look at 2022, the number has jumped to triple of the number. So the 300% growth, and we expect this number to touch 10,000 by 2023. Okay, this is something that I want to share with you, adik-adik semua. Skim galakan penggunaan motosikal elektrik. So go to this website. and register. So the government actually allocates some budget for about 800 units of motorcycle electric. And if you buy motorcycle electric, you could get 2,400 ringgit tax rebate. What it means here is you would go to this website, register yourself, and then you can choose who are the provider that can sell you the e-bike. And if you and then you could get the discounts. um it was launched on last week on 8th December. Since it was launched, it was actually for next year purchase. Since it was launched last yesterday, I checked, there are 1,500 booking has been made via this scheme galakan penggunaan EV bike. So go ahead, adik-adik, if you want to purchase an e-bike, you can actually go and do this via these websites. Okay, so going back to the stories about how Malaysian EV is, I'm not sure whether I should cover the technical part of EV or whether I should cover the policy side, what the government is doing. But I will touch a little bit of both. But tell me whether you want to know which sections of EV ecosystem that you want to know a lot more. So Malaysia is a bit lagging actually when it comes to policy compared to our ASEAN neighbors. Singapore started, I think, about 6 years ago via Land Transportation Authority, which is very much like our JPG here. Is very much hands-on on EV. They also have identified a few area in the country for them to build the charging stations. The HBD, the the high-rise apartment were also equipped with EV chargers. But what's interesting here, adik-adik, is actually Singapore has banned the fuel or diesel-powered vehicles to be sold in the country by 2040. So you could see that if you compare that the Malaysian policy, we are quite behind because we don't have that zero rising fossil fuel vehicles. But I'm sure our government have strong logics on that. Thailand banned the sale of petrol and diesel car by 2035. That does not mean that you cannot drive a petrol cars in the country, because the government very well knows that some of the cars can actually last about 12 to 15 years. But what it says here is there are no more new sales of petrol and diesels in the country. Indonesia is just like us, but they actually put out a very high, a long target, 2050. And Philippines is actually been very quiet on EV. Hong Kong actually seized the new registration. Hong Kong banned the new sales of petrol by 2035. So if you follow through what COP28 is, COP27 will actually be more interesting. You could see a lot more automotive company declaring their commitment towards producing EV compared to petrol vehicles. I don't want to go into what are the policies this country has declared for the EV manufacturings or the charging industry or the EV owners. You can actually read the slide by your own. Again, key point: Malaysia was lagging before, but I think government now has actually picked up a lot. So if you look at total populations of Malaysia, about 33 millions, but the total registered vehicles is 21 million. So what this means that every Malaysian who can actually drive will actually own a car as an average. But look at last year annual sales of automotive, that is 720,000. And like I say, EV sales this year, we focus around 10,000 to 12,000. And that is just about 1% from the total annual sales. And why is that so? Why is it from 720,000, 700 over units of vehicles, there were only 1% of that on EV? And remember, we want to achieve target of 15%. And if you look at this, you could see that the fuel prices in Malaysia is very cheap. Malaysia, if I convert around 95 here, it's about 45 US dollar per liter. But look at how Singapore is doing. Singapore, the fuel price is around $2, and Thailand is $1. Um, if you follow this, if you follow the news, the government is actually subsidizing for the fuel prices. But there was this research done by MOF. It says that the fuel subsidy right now is also enjoyed by all market segments, meaning that the T20s, people who have 7 or 8 cars living in a mansion or bungalow, are also receiving subsidy of fuel, where subsidy is actually created to help people who are unfortunate, and also people who are at uh, I wouldn't want to call that B40, but now the term is B40. And also the subsidy of fuel goes to that is supposed to be enjoyed by students like you, and also the poor of the country is also being enjoyed by the rich of the country. So Zeva has actually written to the government saying that the subsidy of fuel needs to be restructured. We're not telling government to actually zeroize the subsidy, the fuel subsidy, but what it means is the subsidy needs to go to those who deserve. And with that, we hope that the T20 segments can actually move to EV as well. When it comes to, because EV needs chargers, right? So for when it comes to chargers, what types of chargers are available? So there are AC chargers for nighttime and workplace charging. So at my office there are some EV chargers, and also at my mom's house there are also, and I deploy an AC charger. The DC fast charger is actually very fast. It is more expensive because it requires more electricity supply capacity. So to give you an overview, AC charger is around 7 kilowatt or 11 kilowatt. There are some AC charger of 22 kilowatt. DC fast charger starts around 30 kilowatt, 50 kilowatt, 180 kilowatt, and 350 kilowatt. So AC charger is always installed at home, on the go, let's say parking spaces, and also destinations like shopping mall, hotel, and office building. DC fast charger, because it's mainly to use for long haul, is installed at mainly at highways or trunk roads, and for vehicles, for fleet companies, for example bus as well as van. They need DC fast charger at home because bus is huge. The battery is huge, so you need to use the nighttime on put them on DC so that they can run tomorrow morning. I wouldn't want to go through the challenges, but there a few of my members, of the NGO members, finding it very difficult for them to 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 build these AC chargers for consumers to use. We can have a lot more talk if you guys are interested to learn about that. But for now, let me just go to my next slide. So in 2021, there were only 5 DC fast charging along the highway. I remember I was renting one car driving to JB. I need to plan my trip properly. There was there was one at Aikaro, and I arrived at my hotel and then charged at the hotel. Going back is also smooth. There's one at Skudai and also Aikaro. Going up north at that time was actually very challenging. There were only two at Bukit Gantang. So if I drove to, I rented an EV. At that time, I hadn't had any, I have not purchased my EV. So I rented to go to Penang at that time. So stop over at Bukit Gantang and then coming back, there was also at Bukit Gantang. But now, 2023, there are a lot more in the country. Going down south is a smooth journey now. I could actually just leave home at 40% state of charge, SOC, and I could charge up at Icaro, and then go right to JB. Going up north is not a challenge, but coming back is a little bit of challenge because I need to leave with about 100%, 100% state of charge in my EV so that I can quickly stop over at Simpang Pulau. So if you look at this, SB means southbound and NB means northbound, and the capacity of the chargers is in kilowatt, and the operator names is I put there. So for example, Tapa RNR southbound, SB 180 kilowatt shall recharge. So it means that the RNR going south, and that is operated by Shell Recharge. Pantai Timur. Do we have Pantai Timur here? Can I have a show of hand if you have anyone from Pantai Timur? I see some UITM Samarahan here. I don't have database on Sabah and Sarawak. I must apologize. I know there are some in Kuching. I went to Kuching last 2 months, so see some DC charger there. And there are only one locations in Sabah. So go back to East Pantai Timur. There are only Gambang westbound and eastbound, and also Parker eastbound. So a lot more are not there. So you'll be probably asking why there are very few EV chargers on the east side. There are a lot more on the west side. The reason is simple. When you are a business owner and when you want to put up your chargers, you want your chargers to be utilized so that you can actually get return of investment fast. But the problem of planting it out at the east is actually there are not many EV owners at the east. So that will actually create a very low utilizations, and some I saw a calculation the other day. The Because of low utilizations, the return is only after 10 year, and then that's not gonna look good on your business. All right. The government has actually stated, beside the EV targets, they also have put up a target 10,000 chargers by 2025. So where are all these chargers would be? As of now, we have about 1,000 chargers. This charger will be a DC fast charger, like I say, across the highway, and also DC fast charger across the pihak berkuasa tempatan, meaning that the local governments like Majlis Bandaran Sepang, Majlis Bandaran Kajang, Majlis Bandaran Shah Alam. There are also AC charger across PBT, and that's the low hanging fruit. 6,000 needs to be planted by 2025, and also at the on-street parking. So we have 2 more years to complete. There are only 1,000 charges, 1,200 charges being planted. So the industry needs to work a little bit more. And if you could see, these are not government money. These are industry-driven business. They put up their money so that they can help people transit to low carbon transportations. What the government is doing is merely to easing the challenges of the industry, meaning pemudah cara. All right. So some of you might say, and I got these questions a lot when I presented this in Sarawak the other day. the EV is using electricity, but electricity in Malaysia 60% is by coal. So we did a research. We have a research put up in our website. Feel free to visit. If you look at the greenhouse gas emissions comparison between ICE vehicles, ICE mean internal, I know the cost. Ponacha, as you said, the DC charger are expensive. May I know the cost? Okay, the charger itself is actually not expensive. 50 kilowatt chargers is around 50,000 ringgit, and 180 kilowatt chargers is around 200 or three. At most is 150,000 ringgit or 300,000 ringgit. But the cost of building up the plinth for this charger, getting a proper parking base for this charger, the cablings to the nearest electricity chargers, electricity substations, and if there are not enough electricity supply capacity in the area, you need to apply to Tenaga Nasional, and if they assess that and say that we need to build a 1,000 kVA substation in that area, you need to actually pay for the plinth, you need to pay for the consultant, just to see when you were digging out the soil to put out your cables, you are not interfering with any other cables. So you need to do what they call utility mapping that is done by a geological survey company. So total, all in all, in plus highway, you could spend about 500,000 to 800 to 900,000. Plus, if you plan to build a rooftop over these charges, it will nearly cost 1 million for one charges that can serve two cars at one time. All right, that's a good question. Let me go back to the discussions. You'll be asking me why EV now when the country electricity is still dominated by coal. So we do a greenhouse gas emissions based on that. So this study take into consideration the mining of the raw material, the raw material to manufacture any vehicles, the manufacturings, the operation of the vehicles. So the operations, internal combustion engine will use petrol and EV will use electricity. The source of that, the GHG emission of the source of those energy, and as well as maintenance and disposal. So end to end, we compare that side by side. You could see here that the saving are still there for battery EV. So that's about 23% GHG reductions. And if the country meets our RE target, which is 35, we will be exiting around 4 gigawatt of coal-fired power plants will be leaving the generation mix by 2030. So you will actually save a lot more emissions by 2030. Right. I don't want to go to bus GHG emission as well, two-wheelers. But the point is, if you use EV, even though the electricity is not clean, but you will actually still be doing some goods to the environment. Let me move to the next slides. Okay, more and more EV models are available. So this is our kind of database. In 2014 and 2019, you could see that there are only a few models available in the market at that time. One, the world was not globally there were not much EV productions, and second, the government kind of put a restrictions of EV of vehicles that can come into the country. That is to protect our local automotive. So there were only Teslas, Nissan Leaf, and Renault Zoe at that time. BMW launched their BMW iX in 2020, and 2021 you could see that a lot more BMW were coming on stream. Volvo was also announcing their CKD plans, inshallah. Nissan Leaf was still being sold in the country. You see that the Korean start coming in 2022, Hyundai Ioniq 5 at that time, and also Kia. And And the luxury segment, the Mercedes Benz keep started coming in early this year. And what else coming in this year? The Chinese have also started coming in. BYD Atto 3 clock. I think they will clock in around 5,000 units sold this year. Great Wall Neta and Great Wall Good Cat Aura. Aura Good Cat is cute. Yeah, I know, super cute. And BYD Dolphin was introduced sometimes middle this year, and Tesla came in July this year. They have started taking orders. Model 3 Tesla have started making deliveries this year. Um, 3 or 4 of my friends were getting the Tesla via Tesla Malaysia. So the Tesla that was brought in 2014 and 2019 was brought in by grey importers. So what grey importers mean is they buy the car and they got special permits to bring them in. But the Tesla that you Tesla Malaysia is the Tesla company itself that comes in. So you will actually have security in terms of where to go to if your Tesla breaks down. Keep the comments coming in. Yeah, I just love seeing the comments. um and then people will be asking me a lot, uh if I use an EV, would that mean that my electricity bills at home increases? 80% of EV owners will charge at home, unless you have a very good office that provides you a much cheaper a much cheaper rate for charging. So on the left side is actually, on the darker green, is your existing electricity bill. So if you see your electricity bills or your parents' electricity bills, go back and look at it. There are some band like 0 to 200 kilowatt hours. The kilowatt hour, the rate is different, around 20 cents something. 200 to 300 kilowatt hour, the rate is different. And 300 to 400, 300 to 600, the rate is different. 600 and to up to 900, the rate is different. So as the 5 blocks, uh, if you use more electricity, the cost will actually be a lot higher. Why are these designed? First, the poor will actually use around below 200 to 300 kilo hours. They don't have aircons, they don't have microwaves, so they will actually use very limited electricity. And these blocks are actually designed to help that segments. And second, by having blocks, and you could see that, if you could see that a lot more usage means that uh, you're using a lot more electricity. And by penalizing, I wouldn't want to say the word penalize, by penalizing the a larger usage would mean that you are telling people um, to be more energy efficient. For example, you know that you're only using aircon at around your AC units, you only want to use it at 11 and up to 5 o'clock in the morning, because 5 o'clock you will already be up. So you would be consciously to turn it off. You would to turn off your fan or your lights whenever you leave the room. So if your house has about 4 to 5 AC units, but you maintain a very efficient style of living, you could actually save a lot more. So this is why your electricity bill is designed this way. So go back to where I am right now. So if you are at 200 kilowatt hour kilowatt hour block, my mom is at 200 kilowatt hour, because she has only one aircon, and she bakes like 4 or 5 times a week. So her bills is only around 70 ringgit or 80 ringgit. So if I charge at that home, and she would pay extra 100 ring. Sorry. If I charge my car at her home, you compare that to the right graph. she would pay an extra 45 ringgit. But no, I'm not saying this correctly. Okay, let me start again. So the darker green is actually the electricity bills, and the yellow light green is what I pay for my petrol expenses. But if I use EV at block of 200 kilowatt hour, I the gray one is what I pay for my charging. So that's only 45 ringgit. So compare 100 ringgit to 45 ringgit. If I'm at the lowest block, that would mean that I am saving around 55% of my transportation cost. So, for example, if you are using 900 kilowatt hour, you would pay around 100 ringgit for your petrol car. But if you use EV, you will only be paying 78 ringgit. So there's a lot of saving there. But and if you're smart, you would charge at your parents' home because they will actually like my mom is in 200 kilowatt hour block, so I am actually saving a lot if I charge my car at her home. Okay, right. My concern is if there are too much charger built up, a lot of space needed. Again, issues of constructions activities and the impact to the government, to the environment. Not so. If you could see that one DC charger is at the size smaller than your fridge, and that could actually accommodate two cars. So compared to fuel stations where um, you need to have the place for the tanker to come in and underground storage. So a lot more space can be saved on EV charging stations. Next, good questions. I mean that good thinking around that questions. Now I'm starting to answer questions from EV owners' point of view. The first half of my presentation is actually from policies, from how the EV industry is evolving. Because you guys are university students, you would want to know about how the industry is progressing. This part of the presentation will actually be answering questions about as a prospect EV owners. So a lot of people asking me, isn't EV like a mobile phone that require charging every night? The answer is no. Some of the EV models now are actually for city driving. The BMWs are actually for long distance traveling. So let's say for Model 1, 40 kilowatt hours. So this is a Nissan Leaf. The estimated driving range is 310 kilometer, and you will only charge about 4 to 5 once in 4 to 5 days, and you have 64 kilowatt hour battery, the Model 2, and this is Hyundai Ioniq 5, Tesla Model 3. It could actually get you to 480 kilometer, and if you use within city, you could use you only charge once a week. And there goes my car is 49 kilowatt hour. It could bring me to 410 kilometers, so I only charge once a week. um So again, people say that I heard that we have to wait hours to charge an EV. So let's take a look at multiple chargers available and how would that be. The rule of thumb is if you have a 60 kilowatt hour battery and you have charging at 60 kilowatt charger, you would take 60 minutes. So that's about 1 hour. That's pretty long, right? Could you compare that with fuel car? Imagine waiting for 1 hour. Okay, but that's not necessarily true. So for Model 1, so this Nissan Leaf, if you charge at home, from 20% to 80%, you will spend about 6 hours. So that's what I love about EV, because when I come home, I can plug in my car and I can go and do my stuffs. And in the morning, my car is 100% charged. But if I charge at office, it has slightly higher charger capacity, so it's only 2 or 3 hours. But my office install 7 kilo 7 kilowatt charger. So if I come in the morning like 9 a.m., I plug in my car. By 3 o'clock, my car is ready for me to use to go back home. If you plug in at highway DC charger, you would want to wait for 30 minutes. So people will say 30 minutes is very long. And I would actually say the same too if I am not a challenge. If I'm not challenged, so if I stop over at R&R, the moment I park my car and I go for my toilet break, I have my lunch, and then I have a quick solat. By the time I come back to my car, it will actually be around 45 to 1 hour. So that's actually sufficient for you to do fast charging. And if you slightly higher charger will actually take less minute. All right. The beauty about EV is, why is it more sustainable is because of this features called regenerative braking. So if you watch YouTube videos on regenerative braking, you would understand this. So this is my true experience. I was driving Nissan Leaf on this time, and I went up to Genting Highlands. So I recorded my mileage. I started about 9,600 kilometer, and by the time I'm there, I was traveling 31 kilometer going uphill. So I used about 51% of the battery charging capacities. But when I was going downhill, I used a lot of brake. Then the brake, the car has a special feature of converting the kinetic energy to actually charge your car, and basically you will actually not utilizing any energy at all. So I am not an expert EV driver. If an expert EV driver would actually gain some state of charge. So when if they started it when they are up there at Genting Highland, when they were coming down, if they started at 70%, they will actually gain another they will actually gain another 2 or 3%. So this is why EV is sustainable, because it has all the features to, if it's in the petrol car, your going down momentum will actually be lost, but EV will actually use that to charge your car. All right. That's the end of it. But I would like to go to the questions. What if the car runs out of battery during driving? All right. This happened to me once. We were driving, I was from KL, then go to Seremban, then stop over at Putrajaya, and I plan to go to Penang, but then stop over at Tapa. So I purposely did not charge my car because I wanted to see how my car performs when the state of charge is 10%. So people always ask, if the car runs out of battery, it will actually stop in the middle of the road, and then it will be very dangerous because people could actually bang you from behind. But what happens on that day is I was about 4 kilometers to Tapa. My car is actually not very smart like the other EVs. It will not auto calculate for me. So I was doing the calculations in my head at that time. I say I could actually reach Tapa and my SOC will actually be 10%, but it turns out to be after Bido, my SOC is already 7%. And plus I was actually driving recklessly. You know, when you talk to a friend while driving, you did not realize that you were all going over the speed limit. So what happens if the car runs out of the battery? It will tell you to it will slow down itself, and it will tell you to move to the sides. So it's actually safe. And then it stops. So I call up tow trucks. Within 10 to 15 minutes, it was actually late. It was actually 8 p.m. The tow truck came, and when I turned on my car to actually drive on the tow truck, it still have some residual energy, and the tow truck actually towed me to the nearest stations. So So the answers is it expensive to have that kind of charger? So I believe this question is for the home charger. Home charger is getting when I started 2 years ago, one home charger is about 6,000 to 7,000. But recently, when I installed one at my mom's house, it's around 2,000 ringgit. But the cabling, you need to see how, if you really want the cables to be hidden very nicely built into your wall panel, or you want your chargers to be hidden, so you pay for the cosmetic itself. uh, what is the overall environmental impact of producing and disposing of electric vehicle batteries compared to traditional internal combustion engines? So I like this questions. It's very a lot of thoughts have been, a lot of discussion has been going around this. If you ask the EV industry, this is the questions that they will give. If you ask an battery expert, um, first and foremost, the EV batteries is a lot bigger than your normal combustion engine battery. So combustion engine 12-volt battery is only about this size, right? So EV also have 12-volt battery, but the battery area is below your car, so it will be your driver, your passenger behind. So that's, if you look at the seats, so that is how big the space is for EV battery. Overall environmental impact in Malaysia, we have not studied that because there are not many EV right now, and there are not none of the EV batteries are being disposed right now. Reason being is EV battery can be recycled and are being recycled. Uh, a, a company named EV Connections and as well as Gentari Petronas, they have taken the EV batteries of the plug-in hybrid and put it in a van, and charge up the battery. So if your EV runs out of battery, if you're driving recklessly, like what I did before, and you arrive at one place, you can actually call them up and they can come with the recycled EV batteries to come in and charge your car. What are the other use of EV batteries? Are actually the sky is the limit. If you talk about right now, people are talking about prosumer. Prosumer means that you can live without the grid. You can have your car. You can have your cabin built by the beach or on the or in a farm, and you don't request for electricity supply from TNB. What you can do is to actually power up your home with solar, but remember solar only works during the day, and then you have an inverter, and then you can store the energy into a recycled EV batteries. Then at night you can use the energy from the EV batteries. um Nurul Ashikin, Puan Aisyah would like to ask, how do carbon emissions from manufacturing is working? Okay, let me just answer Nurul Ashikin. Carbon emissions from manufacturing and electric vehicles compared to those of conventional vehicle of an entire life cycle. Okay, let me just go back to where my slide was. Right, so this is the slide. This again is the study of how the carbon emissions, how the GHG emissions from manufacturing of the raw materials used to produce internal combustion vehicles, battery EV, and as well plug-in hybrid. So I mentioned just now, it is from the manufacturing, the mining of the raw material, the manufacturings, the operation of the vehicle, service and disposal. So if you combine all that, well, you could see that battery EV is zero internal combustion engine is 0.25 kilograms CO2 equivalent over per kilometer, and battery EV is 0.953. So that is overall GHG emissions. So I know that there is this debate between GHG emission is not really carbon emissions. So I don't want to go into that discussions, but I think that should be sufficient to answer Nurul Ashikin's questions. Najiha, how are manufacturers working to improve the recyclability of EV components, particularly batteries? Um, I cannot answer on behalf of Proton. I cannot answer on behalf of Proda because these two do not produce any EV components. But I can answer on behalf of BMW. They have this program where after 8 years of operations, the customer can actually send their cars back to them, and they can reuse the EV batteries to other to other products, like I explained before, energy storage and as well as home energy storage. So that answer Najiha's question. Considering factors like cost and accessibility, this is from Muhammad Hanan. What strategy do you think would be effective in encouraging consumers in Malaysia to adopt electric vehicles? Let's talk about cost. Yeah. So there are many cheap EVs right now in China. If you look at China's market, there are like I think 60% of the vehicles sold are actually EVs, and it's impressive to see how Chinese automotive evolve around this year. And you could see that you could get an EV around 20,000 US dollars. So that is the cost of Asia here. So why are we not buying this EV, right? The answer to that is if you get this EV onto the roads of Malaysia, you will somehow kill the automotive industry in Malaysia, because people would love EV, especially you guys, young people. You would love the torque, you would love the top speed, and you would love all the cool features inside the vehicles. So who's going to buy our Proton and Produas? So that's why government is still putting in restrictions that if you want to buy, you want to get EV from foreign countries, you could only bring in 100,000 ringgit and above. That is to protect our P1 and P2. Then you'll be asking me, so sampai bila? The answer will actually be until P1 and P2. I am in meetings with government officials. There's this task force that P1 and P2 are also around. And not only P1 and P2, you should also consider the CKD plants like Honda and Toyota. They have a manufacturing plants here, right? So the government consistently has been motivating these people to have EV models. So the timeline given to them is until 2027. So until then, until they come in, then they could actually be manufacturing an EV that is at the price of Asia right now, inshallah lah kan. But maybe in the first few years they would actually come up with mid-segment models, and after that they would actually have more, because to come up with one line of EV production is difficult. Not only EV production, to come up with one line of production of any vehicles take years of research, and once you put in one line of production, it might take another 3 or 4 years for you to have some return, and after that the model has become obsolete, so you need to do some facelift. So a lot of investment goes around manufacturing of automotive. So that is cost. How to bring in the cost is actually, I see no way but to get the local automotive to move in the industry. And of course, as Zeva, we actually advocate for the restructuring of fuel subsidy so that the total cost of ownership of EV will actually be better. Blue Red, I want to ask, kalau saya newbie dalam bidang EV, do you just suggest for me to change from ICE to EV? Sebab risau cost maintenance yang agak tinggi. Okay, the anxiety is there lah kan? Sebab kalau ICE, ada banyak mechanics kan, mekanik bawah pokok pun ada to actually get your cars repaired. For EV, you need to go back to OEMs kan. So the anxiety is real. Cuma there are about 400 parts of automotive parts in a combustion engines. In a petrol car or diesel car, there are 400 parts. So a lot more things kena tukar lah. Kena tukar timing belt, every 6 months kena tukar minyak hitam, kena tukar transmission oil. Tapi EV only have 150 or 160 parts. Dia cuma ada motor, dia ada battery kan, dia ada dia punya OBC charger dia. So sebenarnya tak ada pun maintenance. You cuma I drove for 9 months. I bawa pergi balik manufacturer tu just for routine check-up. What they just tengok is just the software, whether the software is updated. Okay, so tak payah tukar minyak hitam sebab tak ada engine, tak payah tukar timing belt, tak payah tukar banyak benda, tak payah tukar. Cuma because you tend to drive very fast dengan EV sebenarnya sebab it's very smooth. You can take curbs, you can negotiate going uphill very smooth. So you akan bawa laju, and because of that you akan brake laju, and because you brake laju, your tires will actually have to tukar lagi kerap lah compared to petrol car. Cuma saya bawa 9 bulan, saya tak tukar apa-apa lagi lah. I think I am more into hybrid EV than EV itself. I'm concerned about the batteries. If I'm rushing, I can just use petrol. Betul. Semua orang macam tu. Okay, let me just do a corrections there. I think what you're looking for, because hybrid does not require plug-in. Hybrid is you convert. I actually have one slide on the differences between hybrid, plug-in hybrid, petrol car and EV. So hybrid EV, dia actually convert does not use electricity at all, but the plug-in hybrid use electricity. So at certain point, katakanlah macam 60 kilometer, bila you dah habis guna your battery, you will actually swap into petrol. I have a few friends that is driving plug-in hybrid. Dia memang tak isi petrol langsung sebab dia datang rumah dia dalam macam 40 km saja. So every day dia akan charge kereta dia lah plug-in hybrid. Cuma my concern about plug-in hybrid ni, kan tadi I explain about how an internal combustion engine ada 400 parts, EV ada 160 parts saja. So for a plug-in hybrid, you actually have 400 plus 160 parts. So you have 560 parts over in your car. So that means a lot more maintenance. Kena selalu tengok banyak maintenance lagi lah. But again, ya betul. Kalau EV, kalau kereta hybrid, kalau you rush, you just use petrol je, betul. That happens to me once lah. I thought I dah plug in my car at home, and suddenly tengok pagi tu punya I tak check pun. Too tired to check, I tak check pun. So pagi tu when I drove, I was about 20% to 10%. So that's why I never leave my car to be below 20% lah. Kan 20% tu I would actually charge it lah kan. So it takes a lot of points to ponder on that it is so easy for us to go and find petrol kan. Sebenarnya when there are some of my friends yang adopt EV because they really want to be green, they want to save the environment. So untuk kita save environment ni memang macam takes effort kan. So untuk takes effort tu kita kena cakap every time no, I don't want to use petrol. I want to use EV. I want to go through the hassles of charging up because I'm saving the environment, kan? So, in your opinion, what role can government policy plays in promoting the use of EV among Malaysia? As for now, ini macam soalan exams sebab tadi my first 3 slides rasanya dah cakap lah pasal government policies tu kan, dah ada banyak dah ada kat sini. There are targets of EV in the TIV kan. Sirim launches comprehensive EV ecosystem. Yes, I was there at the Sirim punya dinner semalam, and they launches the National Rechargeable EV battery testing. So they were given 30 million grant by government to come up with this testing system that can actually tells you katakanlah you dah guna EV for 8 years, sama ada you punya bateri tu, sebab bateri EV ni dia bukan macam seketul macam your phone. Dia macam, dia ada pack dia. Dia ada macam your AA battery tu disusun pack. So ada banyak teknologi lah. So I'm just telling you the normal technologies. EV, the cathode and anode tu macam kita punya AA battery tu disusun satu, that's one train, and then a few train. So kalau dia diagnose yang tu, okay, yang ini memang dia punya battery dia dah banyak yang dah not efficient anymore, you can just change one train, one pack macam tu. Tak payah tukar the whole kereta sebenarnya. So that was what Sirim launching yesterday, the National Rechargeable EV Battery Testing. What role can communities play in supporting the transition to EV? Ni boleh ke? What role can communities play? I think kalau kita investing in a car is a huge investment kan. Dia macam you nak kena pilih kereta yang sesuai dengan cara you kan. So for me, kalau misalnya you are not ready to adopt EV and you think that it is good for the environment, tapi you're not ready sebab mahal lagi ke apa, it's when it comes to when the time comes, then you just tukar sajalah. Kalau sekarang ni, if you macam my husband still driving a petrol car, because bagi dia macam he's not confident with the technology kan. Walaupun dia dah tengok wife dia stranded kat tepi highway pun ada orang datang tolong, but for him he's still like I want to wait and see. And sebenarnya what he's waiting to see is he's waiting to see a lot more affordable EV models in the country. Kita clumsy, ya betul, kita pun clumsy juga. What role, okay, yang tadi tu saya dah jawab, what role can communities play kan? And also communities, katakanlah you are in UiTM right now, you cannot afford an EV kan? Tapi you can actually get people to, you can dedicate some space for EV chargers to be there, so that orang yang orang ramai boleh guna. The problem with EV chargers ni sebenarnya tak ada tanah. Sebab EV charger ni macam I cakap tadi, would just use, ada juga yang orang yang macam pasang multiple chargers and there are about 10 EV parking bays kan. Ada juga, tapi kebanyakan yang ada sekarang ni dia just pasang one DC charger and it can accommodate 1 or 2 cars. Sebenarnya tak memerlukan macam stesen minyak, you perlukan ingress, digress, lepas tu you kena ada proper storage of and then tanker nak masuk kat mana, kena ada kedai mesra, kedai yang kena ada toilet, and setengah stesen minyak kena ada surau kan. So EV charger ni sebenarnya sangat simple constructions dia. You cuma perlukan electricity supply, cables, underground cables and that chargers. So kalau you ada space in your college, you can actually get people to pasang charger so that a lot more people can use EV. What measures are being taken to enhance eco-friendly impact in the transportation sector? Muhammad Nabil, I would actually advise you to read Low Carbon Mobility blueprint announced by Malaysia Green Tech Malaysian Green Tech Corporations, sebab kat dalam tu dia cerita banyak sangat pasal what government plans to move transportation sector into net zero, sebab transportation sector actually contributes 26% towards carbon emissions. So read that for your assignments. Okay, so I think I would like to stop here. 3:30 dah. Thank you so much, everyone. I wish you all the best.
Okay, thank
And
you,
once-
Mrs. Aisha, for answering and sharing with us this evening.
Okay, I can leave the studio now. Yeah. Okay, feel free to actually take a look at my slides. I emailed
Yeah.
you. Okay, all right. Bye, everyone. Assalamualaikum.
Yeah. Sure. So, Mrs. Aisha, wait a second. Nabil, sila. Okay, to all participants, thank you for spending your time with us today. Reminder for all participants, do not forget to fill on your attendance and leave out your feedback on the QR that we provided on the slide. Again, from me and the organizer, thank you for joining our webinar session. I hope you will get a good day. Thank you, everyone.